All right, everyone, welcome back to Discipleship and Dollars, where we bring the light to the hustle. We are so excited for today. Another episode, another day in the studio. It's going to be great. We are especially excited because we are blessed to have a guest with us today. And we have none other than Ty Ricks in the studio. It's a big one. So I want to give a little bit of an intro of him, just because Ty holds a special place in my heart, and then we'll turn it to him. Don't want to steal his thunder. But Ty Ricks is a phenomenal businessman, owns, multiple businesses, and we'll let him tell you more about that. But he also is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, served a full-time mission, and, was actually my young men's leader growing up. So we went on campouts and, had a lot of fun growing up throughout the years. So I've learned a lot from Ty, and maybe he's learned a little bit from me. But today, we're all going to be able to learn from Ty. Patience. Patience is the biggest. But yeah, Ty is, a phenomenal disciple of Jesus Christ. And, me and my brother have worked for him, just growing up doing construction and other stuff like that. So we've learned a lot about, work ethic and also living the gospel and staying involved with the church. And so it's been a pretty good experience. And so I have learned a lot, but I'm excited to learn more from him today. So Ty, with that being said, give us a little introduction of yourself.
Well, I am obviously Ty Ricks. I have been involved in the construction industry for a long time, for basically my whole life. Mm-hmm. So started out in high school, wanted to be an architect. Actually went to work for architects, so in high school, and pursued that path until I reached college and realized, I don't love drawing plans all the time, sitting behind a desk.
Yeah.
So rather be out in the field doing things more interesting. So I found the construction management program while I was at Ricks, which is obviously now BYU Idaho, which is disappointing because that's my last name.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's your school.
I know. It was awful. I can't believe they didn't put a subtitle, BYU Idaho Ricks, or vice versa. But yeah, it's kind of been, it was hard on the family. We should. But no. So while I was there attending school, I changed my major from architecture to construction management. And then just went into the construction management field at BYU, graduated. While I was doing that, I was paying my way through college, drawing plans and, and just trying to work for I was actually working for architects locally in Provo, Orem area, and got a lot of great experience from them, learned a lot about the trade of architecture and just design and whatnot. And then went to work for, right before I graduated, I took a job with a company called Magleby Construction. So everybody's heard of Magleby Construction. It's probably one of the best builders in the valley. He's been around forever. One of the most awesome guys. If you can actually get him on your podcast, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
He's getting up there in age, but he's a really cool guy and just
that'd be great.
Does amazing work. Built some of the biggest homes in the valley and biggest custom, super high-end custom projects. So then just got to a point. He had 4 sons, so the writing was kind of on the wall.
Yeah.
I tried to get him to make me a partner, and he was willing to impart some, but it was it wasn't going to happen. So as much as I wanted to, and so I ended up just breaking out and doing it on my own. So the first we bought a bunch of lots up in Highland, actually. We're in our neighborhood where we live, and first house I built was Robin Jr. Harris's house.
Really?
On my own. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And the Porter's house was actually our house that we lived in. So, and then just started doing parade homes and building custom homes, doing those every year, and then actually I got involved with another partner, and we built a bunch of townhome condo projects in Pleasant Grove and then throughout the valley and actually all over Utah. So So just been around. Actually went to Virginia for a year. Did a stint in Virginia, and that's where I actually went there for a year, and realized that construction is kind of a rough business to be a member of the church in.
Really?
Especially when you go outside of Utah, and just lots of not very positive influences, not a good home life experience.
Sure.
More work than home, and so we were only there. I worked for one of the biggest contractors in the nation, actually. There, HIT Contracting, built Greenpeace's corporate headquarters. And then did a bunch of stuff right downtown, right by the White House, and most of my jobs were right down there.
Oh, dang. So
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
like you were
Yeah,
there
I
where
was in
history.
D.C. I was in D.C. during
You were in the place where it's happening.
Yeah, there was one of the riots. I can't remember. It was like the World Bank riots.
Dang.
Like they shut down D.C.
Yeah.
And it was kind of insane.
So like you were in the mix.
Yeah, we were downtown D.C. Like I would actually drive downtown almost every day.
That's cool.
Worst. It was
The worst traffic.
awful. Worst traffic
Oh,
in
yeah.
the world. Like our offices were right on the perimeter of the Beltway, so and then we lived in Manassas, Virginia, which is about 30 minutes.
Oh yeah,
30
Manassas.
miles
Yeah.
outside of D.C. and so I would drive. It wasn't too bad going into the office. It was maybe an hour, but coming home it could be an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just with traffic and
So
everything?
it was just traffic. So I'd literally leave at 5 in the morning and then get home at like 7 or 8 at night.
Oh my god.
Only then to rinse and repeat.
Which
the
must
next
have
day.
been like so hard on your family, and just
Yeah.
all of that must have been such a challenge.
Yeah, so that's when I realized I just can't do this anymore. And Paul Magleby called me up one day and was like, "We really want you to come back." And I was like, "Okay." So I was ready to go. So he paid for our move back to Utah, and
Wow.
that's when we came back. And then literally the summer that we came back, actually the summer we moved into our first house in Highland, 9/11 happened.
Wow.
And that's when DC basically shut down for construction. Like the company I worked for pretty much laid off most of the people
Wow.
that were working, a lot of the people that were working. So I would have most likely lost my job.
So you got
anyways.
out at a good time.
So we just got out, perfect timing. Obviously, the Lord blessed us, and we came back here and found Highland. And my wife did, actually. She spent a lot of time praying and driving and looking, and that's when she found our those lots up there in Highland. And she was like, "This is where we're going to raise our family," because she loved the park.
The
So
square
we have
one?
like a big park in the middle of our
Oh yeah.
development that's awesome for kids, and so we ended up moving there, and obviously great families moved in, and
Great families.
yeah, it was awesome. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell, and then I've just been doing it on my own since then. So it's almost been it's been almost 30 years.
30 years. Wow.
Being a private contractor?
Being on my own.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a while.
Well, I have just so many questions. I think that just opened up probably like a million cans of worms. Just your experience and your background and just specific timing and things throughout your life. You know, just as I was listening, I was just thinking, like, clearly the Lord has had a hand in your life. Like one thing that I was dying just to talk to you about is, so the parade of homes. I feel like builders, right? Like that's like the place that they want to. I mean, like go. You know, like to like have their homes. You know, like within there. And from what it sounded like, you hustled your way into that point.
We did. So I was fortunate when we started. There was one client that wanted to have their home in the Parade of Homes, and it kind of turns into. It's great for like the Parade of Homes is awesome when you're starting out as a new builder because it does give you a ton of good exposure. And so there was one client that actually wanted to do the Parade of Homes. I actually, looking back, I'm trying to figure out even how we even connected. It was just some way we connected. Anyway, so we built that home, and from that home, you'd get 2 or 3 or 4 homes, and then it just kind of like, then we do one the next year, and it would same thing. So it's just a ton of good exposure. But then you get to a point in your career where it's like the Parade of Homes turns into an absolute nightmare.
Really?
Yes, because it's literally like it's happening here in a week or two, and so we've actually been trying to wrap up a big project in Highland right now. It's 17,000 square foot home.
Is it the Meekums
Yeah,
home?
the Meekums
That
home.
was in Parade of Homes?
And that's not a Parade of Homes.
Oh.
But there's all the trades that we need to wrap up our project on are like,
But they're busy.
we gotta finish this parade home. We're doing like 30, we're doing 20 parade homes, so we need time. And I'm like, so that's the one thing that I do hate about the parade of homes is just that it just sucks up everybody's energy, right? At that during this
Yeah, straight up, yeah.
like during this 2-month period. So any good trades are just like totally sucked up in it. And then honestly, when I did it, it turned into your life is like buried for that 2 months. So you don't see your family again. And then during that 2 weeks, you're literally like, oh, you're just sitting there and, you know, just waiting. People are coming through. And then, so then when you're done, you're like, okay, I got to hustle and get everybody else that you like kind of had to neglect. You have to basically pick up the pieces.
Yeah, to pick up the pieces for what was left behind.
for what was left behind.
That's hard.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it's a good problem and a really bad problem too at the same time. So it's kind of one of those blessings and curses.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Holy cow. So you went from Magleby, this huge contractor, to then breaking off to work on your own and becoming like a private contractor.
Yeah.
What was that process like for you?
Well, it was one of those things where actually I attribute a lot of that to, because I was scared. I was actually really nervous about doing it.
Yeah.
Because I was used to that check every 2 weeks. I was used to getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. It was like, got my degree, went to school, got a job, and had a great salary, and that paycheck came in every 2 weeks. The bonuses came in at the end of the year. And life was good, you know. It wasn't like it was bad. It was actually really good. But then, you know, I just felt like that, like I wanted to do more. I wanted to have control of the whole boat instead of just being like a part of the mechanism
Just a crew member on the boat, yeah.
So so it actually took me having a partner the first time. So I actually had a partner when I broke off from Magleby. And that actually turned out to be a bad thing.
Really?
So good and bad thing. So partners are great, but I think the only partner you probably should have in your life is a marriage partner.
Yeah.
Like, because it's a whole different animal when you're business partners. But there's some people that can handle it. But the business partner I happened to have didn't have the same work ethic as I did, and I'd find out about things that he had been doing during the day when I'm trying to bust out a parade home.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I'm like, dude, this is like, we're in like the 11th hour and things have to be done. And if it's not done, then it just looks bad on all of us. And he just wasn't there.
Just
and
slacking.
So I finally we got through that parade home, and I was like, I just sat down with him. I said, this isn't going to work. And by that time, I kind of had the confidence that, okay, I can go.
You can do it on your own.
I can go month to month or job to job, pay wise, and be able to survive. And I just needed that confidence that I could do it. And so he helped me in that regard, actually getting to that point. But then it was like, ugh. So the one thing I tell people is like, when you choose partners, choose them very carefully. It's a very like a spouse. Be very careful. Do your due diligence and make sure who you're marrying, because that's essentially what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're marrying a person, and make sure they have the same ethics you do, and then always just have an exit in mind. So like I've had partners over the years since him that have been great partnerships, but there was a term, and it was like, okay, we're going to do this project together, and then when that term ended, we were done.
So it's short-term things?
Yeah, it was like short terms, like specific like developments or that type of things. And then we would end that relationship, or we'd renew it in some other fashion in another project. But it's like one of the things that I've seen a lot of people make mistakes over the years with as business partners. It's not easy having business partners.
Yeah. No, that's such good counsel, and like you obviously have the experience to back up that counsel because you had all of the experiences. I am just, like you have experienced, the success that can come, from having, like the best partner, and then kind of the more struggles, the challenges that can come from having someone that you struggle with.
Yeah.
And I think that gives you a different level of credibility to really define what success is. So in your mind, what is success?
That's one thing that you kind of, as you go through life, you kind of learn a lot more about what success really is. And you kind of have this infantile understanding of what success is when you're this guy's age. So, and then when you get to my age, you're like, oh, it's a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but when I started out, success was dollars. It was like, I was all about like, how much money revenue am I producing every year? It was like, it's like I wanted to make millions and millions, or produce or generate millions, or just process millions, and we did that, and it was good, and we had a great time. But then there was times when it wasn't so great, and then you realize, okay, that's success really isn't about dollars. Success to me is more about relationships now. It's about who you talk to and who you're involved with. And like success to me was like my time in the young men's. Actually, it was like there's a part of my patriarchal blessing that actually specifically talks about the influence I'll have over young men. Mm-hmm. And
wow.
I didn't ever really associate that with being in the young men's. I actually thought it was going to be like, I'm going to be this bishop or mission president or whatever. You just kind of have this whole infantile understanding of what the Lord has in mind for you. But then as I've grown over the years, I've realized, no, it was about just being able to relate to young men and have a great experience with them and do things like that. So success to me now is my family and being able to spend time with them and actually having the means now to enjoy that with them. So yeah, we've made dollars over the years, and we've been able to put them away, but it's been nice to actually utilize those dollars to benefit other people, like a lot of the camping trips we went on. It's
not cheap.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap, and it was paid for by, the church didn't support all of it.
Yeah.
So we paid a lot of it out of our own pockets.
Things.
There was a lot of things we paid out of our own pockets, but I don't regret any of that. That's
of course.
Part of what we do, and it's like, to me, that was success, and that was the fun of it, and just being able to spend time with my kids. I have 4 girls, so just spending time with them and enjoying them. So that to me is what success is all about: family, relationships.
So that paradigm shift is almost exactly like where we're trying to guide this show in general, right? Like shifting from what the world views success to what really ultimately what the Lord views success as. Was there kind of a moment that changed that paradigm for you? Like when did it click?
Well, it's been a process. The Lord has a way of
He's
humbling us and taking us from prideful people down to humble people. If we're not willing to bend our knee, He will bend it for us.
Oh, I love that. That's a good quote.
That's the quote of the day.
So, there was a time, when things were going amazing, we were just cleaning up and making tons of money, and things were just going great. And then the market shifted, all of a sudden in 2008. You might remember it more than others than him. He was just.
What you trying to say, Ty?
He was like
diapers.
Yeah, he was not. Didn't affect him, but yeah, there was a time when we just it just collapsed, and lot prices. There was lots in Highland at the time selling for $150,000, $200,000, which is cheap now.
Yeah.
But that actually they regressed to the point where those same lots were selling for 50, 60 grand. People couldn't sell their homes. There was people foreclosing on their homes. And actually, we lost our home in that economy. We were doing really well, and obviously we have bank loans out to do well. We had a $3 million line of credit with a bank called RBC, Royal Bank of Canada. Huge bank. Obviously, it's the Bank of Canada. So, and we had done so well for them. We'd made them like over $1 million just in interest and whatnot. Yeah, in interest and just payments because of the amount of stuff we'd produced. But when it came down to that economy, all the banks were folding. There was banks collapsing and things were folding and everything. Just lots of stuff outside of our control. And I'd built a new home for us, paid cash for the house, built the house for cash, but I had a lot loan. And I had a lot loan on my line of credit. And we were making payments. Everything was great. No problems. Talking to the bankers, keeping them up to date. I'd had one big project that we were doing, a condo project we were still cash flowing on it. And it was enough to get us by. So we were able to keep up with all our payments and stuff like that. But this bank, the Royal Bank of Canada, came in and they actually said, one day I got a call from them. They said, we have a line item in our small print that nobody ever reads that says we can pull this at any point in time.
Yeah.
And that's what they did to me. They pulled it to me. And at that point in time in the market, builders could not get loans because I was a builder. And obviously, even though I had cash flow and was able to make payments, they didn't care. They didn't take one consideration with the relationship that we had built with him and all the interest money that we'd paid for them. It was some guy out in New York that called me and said, we're done. And pulled the line of credit and said, we're foreclosing on your house. Because they saw a house that was, that I think I owed like maybe, I can't even remember, like $150,000 on it. And on the lot. And they saw it like $1 million house. So they just basically stripped us. They took our house. Couldn't get anybody to actually give us a loan. Nobody. So we ended up basically going from that to a twin home and kind of moving around and basically had to rebuild from there.
Wow.
So yeah, that was one of the hardest things we ever did and one of the most humbling things I ever went through. Just totally humiliating, ruined my credit, just felt like a worthless piece of crap. So, and then I just kind of dug in and just kept doing and started again and started building up again, and things have been good. And from that point, we had a huge company, and I just cut it down to basically me and a couple other people, and from there, it's actually been better because then I don't have all the overhead of a huge company, and so smaller and more control, and it's more profitable, in fact. So so don't have to deal with all the headaches of payroll. So
that's intense.
Holy cow.
That's so intense.
So there's more. So
that's a story not even I haven't even heard that one yet.
Not too many people know that we actually had our house foreclosed.
Oh my gosh.
So and then just recently, I was actually, this is one you don't even know either. About 3 weeks ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it kind of gives you a whole different perspective on life. You're like, am I gonna die?
Yeah.
So that's what we thought. Like we've been like not sure what's gonna happen.
Really?
Yeah, because they tell you this word and you're like, cancer.
And it starts freaking out.
You're gonna die. And so, anyways, it's been a lot of prayerful nights and just like spending time trying to figure out what it is. And it's been going times to doctors. You probably don't even know this, but I've been going to the doctor a lot. You've been in while you've been dealing with your problems, I've been dealing with mine.
We've been in the doctor at the same time.
Yeah, I've had biopsies and PET scans and all those kind of things. And finally we figured out just recently, actually just yesterday, that it's consolidated just to the prostate. It's not metastasized to the whole body. So,
what a blessing.
Which would be a huge issue. And then So now we know what to treat and kind of figure out what it is. And my doctor said, "Don't worry about it, Ty. You're not going to die from this.
Don't worry
You'll
about
be
it.
able to live a long life." He actually had prostate cancer, so I'm like, okay. So
Yeah.
he's a
Maybe
good
we can
friend of
trust
ours.
him.
Yeah, so it's been awesome. He's been good about it. So, but those kind of things like are the things that the Lord does to you. That's like, okay, you're like, okay, this reevaluate life. What's most important? Do I really need this big house? Do I need this stuff? Do I need all these things? What's more important to me? And you realize in those situations that it's really your family, and that's the most important thing, and the relationships that you have with other people, that's the most important thing. And so you go through those failures and those life crisis points and tragic events, and you're like, man, this is the Lord trying to tell me I need to take care of my body a little better and
Take care of the body.
do things differently. But yeah.
So you're literally in the middle of this like trying experience. That's heavy.
Yeah.
Thank you for being willing to talk about that and just share some of those really like defining experiences that you're still trying to make, that you are still trying to define for yourself. That's hard.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's been interesting, but the thing that you realize is just like our good friend, one of my other young men. It's like his grandparents just died in a tragic accident just the other day, and it's like, you just realize, okay, your problems are one size, but most people's are like. So that's one thing I've learned in life is that, and I actually pray every day for this, to find somebody that I can serve, I can do something for. And sometimes it's been like the other day I was at the gas station and the lady went to pay for her gas and her card declined. And I was just like, okay, this is the Lord telling me I'm supposed to be here at this time. And so I went over and I put my card in. And she was only going to put $5 in her tank. And I was like, I filled her car up for her and sent her on her way. So
Thank
it's
God
kind
you
of things like that. You're like, you just have to look for those opportunities in life to like bless other people's lives. And kind of that's why we're here. Do the Lord's will.
Seriously. And I'm sure that was probably a small thing for you. It's a tank of gas. It's not that
Oh
big
yeah,
a deal
it's
for
like
any of us.
$40.
But for her, that was, probably, life could have been, life changing. It's huge for her. She was going to put $5 in.
Yeah.
That's a big deal to her.
Yeah.
And, what a blessing that you were the one that was able to be there.
Yeah, so there's things like that. You just pray every day and you find, you like look for opportunities to serve. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about success. We'll come back to failures, but you talked about all of these things that you've been through and the recent big one with the diagnosis. I didn't even know that. That's kind of...
Yeah, I haven't told you.
I
I don't even know if your dad knows.
found out
honestly.
about that just live on the podcast. And then I
did it on purpose, just because I knew there would be some shock factor.
yeah.
Thank you.
And, he hasn't even told me about his grandparents. I found out from
that was news.
I found out from his girlfriend today.
like that was news to me that
Like,
lost his grandparents.
She his girlfriend texted me today and said, "Hey, check up on." Said, like, is he stressed at work or something? And she was like, "No, his grandparents passed away." And it's so sad. And I'm definitely gonna talk to him after that. But like, obviously, a lot of people are going through a lot of hard things. Back with the 2008 crash, you lost your home, and you've had a lot of different trials throughout then. There's a lot of people that go through those things and think they failed, think there's no coming back. When you were going through those things, how did you stay grounded? And obviously thinking about going forward, how will you stay grounded?
I don't know how you stay grounded other than I think a lot of it comes back to actually just like a good foundation, good parents that kind of led and guided me, and not just good parents, but good grandparents that kind of led and guided me, and leaders, obviously. You just realize that as you get older, it's a day-to-day thing. You just kind of realize, okay, I'm going to wake up again tomorrow, and I get another day to do this. I need another day to figure this out and try to make it better. Obviously, how do you stay grounded? The Lord freaking knocked me on the ground. so that was pretty easy way to figure that out. But it was honestly just having a good supportive wife. Helps a ton. Spouse, that's one of the best ways in life to stay grounded, honestly, because she
Just have a
reminds me every day of, you need to work on this. So
Find yourself a good woman.
She's like
note taking.
She
Taking notes.
she keeps me on the righteous path, definitely, and keeps me on my toes. But she definitely is obviously very supportive and very good at helping me. Kind of reminds me, okay, this is why we're here. This is what we're about. This is what our lives are about. She kind of comes from a dysfunctional family. And so her big thing was always about family. She always wanted to have
a good
a
family.
functional family,
Yeah.
whatever that means. I don't even think that's possible anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think that's even a real thing, honestly. I think that's just something that we're all striving for. So just that, and one of the things I've found lately, actually, that's helped me a ton, and there was a period in my life where you kind of go ebbs and flows, and you just, especially with the gospel, you're like, it's like, I just go to church every day. Couldn't stand going to priesthood for the longest time after I was out of young men's. Because there's nothing worse than going to young men or elders quorum after you've been with like the youth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These dudes are old. You taught elders quorum a couple weeks ago.
Taught it 2 weeks ago. It's my least favorite class to teach.
Honestly, it is. It's hard. We're like a hard age to like crack, not to crack. And the youth are just so much more energetic. They're so much more fun. But anyways, so I just had the hardest time going to priesthood. And my wife's like, you're not doing what you need to do. You're not going to priesthood. So I was like, okay, I'm going to suck it up and just go to priesthood. Just go sit there and just be a part of it. And honestly, that's actually been a good thing because I've realized that's where I need to be.
Yeah.
And then the other big thing was just reading the Book of Mormon daily. Like, I actually have on my phone. I don't know if you guys have it on your phones, but I have the whole thing listed out, and it tells me what to read every day to read the Book of Mormon, the whole thing for a whole year. And like, I always look, I'm like on a 67-day streak right
Let's
now.
go.
So,
Good work.
in fact, when I lose the streak, I get so mad at myself. 'Cause it's like, literally, it's like one day. How did I do that? So, but just doing that every day is actually, and it's just, you think, it's actually words, but there's a lot more to it. I think in your lesson, actually, in Elders Quorum the other week, you talked about how powerful the Book of Mormon is and how it will actually help prevent you from having negative thoughts. Like it's like people that have problems with pornography or with drug addictions or with alcohol addictions. It's like one of the most powerful tools to help focus your mind on the most important things, and not just family relationships, but also work. It just helps you focus that day on what you need to do. So that's one of the things that I've learned just, within the last couple of years is like, hey, this is so important, reading the Book of Mormon every day, and also just attending your church meetings, even if you don't want to. You don't feel it. Just go, because you'll feel it. In fact, one day, when I taught a few months ago, one of the elders came up to me afterwards, and he actually said, Ty, that's actually what I needed to hear today. So the things you say and do, and
things that you would
just
never even
being
know.
there.
Yeah.
And like this kid was telling me, it was actually one of the young men, but he's now not a young man. One of Bishop Bond's sons. Actually, he came up to me and he said, that's what I needed to hear, because I just haven't been feeling like going to church and feeling like doing this, but I realize it's what we need to do. It's just like doing those simple things and going to the temple, and even if you fail or inadequate or screw up, I mean, that's exactly what those tools are there to help us do, is to correct, make a course correction in our life, and put ourselves back on track, because
Yeah.
it's so easy to get off track. It's just so easy.
Oh yeah. I just like really appreciate you sharing that. I feel like I've kind of been like living maybe a similar path, trying to understand, the importance of continuing to do the things that that work. And I love that you mentioned the Book of Mormon, right? Because President Nelson, I think he's probably, like, in terms of the Book of Mormon, given more bold promises about the Book of Mormon than really anything else.
Yeah, yes.
Like, he literally says that if you read the Book of Mormon every day, you will make better decisions
Just
every
every
day.
Yeah, that's exactly the talk
Awesome.
that he.
And there's
right?
power in that.
Yeah.
Like there's such, and like not just because it's the words, but like there's literal power. And literally, it's so cool that we're talking about, because this morning, I was reading the Book of Mormon, and I've really been thinking about this. Like, what do you do when you get tired of doing the things that you're supposed to be doing? Because church is tiring sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And I love Elder Uchtdorf's talk, because he literally just he opened the gate this last conference to allow us to be like, okay, sometimes church is not easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes church is really, really hard, and sometimes we're not going to want to be there. And I feel like, sooner or later, everyone kind of has to walk through that journey. But King Benjamin, 124 BC, just like reading what he's been talking about has really just been giving me strength. But like, one of the things he talks about is one of the things that you just talked about was continually like humbling yourselves even in the depths of humility. The depths of humility. You pointed out that like God allowed the world to knock you to the ground. But what you kept doing was you continued to call on continued to call on the name of the Lord daily. And I love that idea, and like standing like steadfastly in the faith of that which is to come.
Yep.
And I love that idea of like having faith of things to come. Like, you are obviously in the middle of this diagnosis, and you seem to have faith of good things to come. And I'm just so curious, like is there a specific, instance where the Book of Mormon has given you strength?
You kind of look back over your life and you think about that, and obviously there's promises that we do as missionaries, and you read this and you'll pray about it, and you'll learn this thing, but you'll have a testimony of it. But honestly, some of the most powerful spiritual experiences I actually have were on my mission. And one of the most powerful experiences I had was when we were teaching the Book of Mormon to a lady in Manchester, England. Her name's Diane Warburton, and she is still active today.
Wow.
And still tends the temple and has been on a mission. She has a family. But when we were teaching her, we were street contacting and found her. But when we started teaching her, we read the Book of Mormon, and we actually kneeled down in prayer with her. And we all, as missionaries, you pray, you pray, you pray. We all said a prayer, because that's what you did. I mean, maybe it's not that way anymore for you guys, but
Done it a few times.
so we all said a prayer, and then in that moment, we all just felt this. We all gained a testimony of the Book of Mormon, and just the power of it, and the truthfulness of it, and there's just been certain instances over life. It hasn't been like every day reading or every day doing this. It's been more like there was a time when I was like at the bottom of my, the bottom of the barrel. Like there was I was like, I'm so done. And I was sitting in the back of the sacrament meeting, just kind of the soft seats, the relief society chairs, not the pews.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just sitting there by myself in sacrament meeting, and I was just so defeated. And I'd been praying for comfort, and I just felt the hands of the Lord just wrap around me, and actually you're going to be all right. You're going to make it. And just it was that powerful moment where it's like, okay, I can try again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I can do this again tomorrow. And a lot of that as I read the Book of Mormon today, there's time periods where it's like, oh, things that just mean, like I've read it so many times, and you kind of just get to the point where some of it's just like words, but then there's those words that stand out to you in that particular moment, and you're like, oh, this actually means more to me. This actually makes more sense to me, or this, I can apply this to my life. I can understand how King Benjamin felt when he was trying to talk to everybody, but couldn't get the message out, so he had everybody write it down, and you kind of get a more visual reference of it, especially as you go explore the world too. And that's what we've done. We've gone and kind of seen those places, and you're like, holy cow, this is like, it's like you just have a whole new appreciation for things and for basically the earth. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I've kind of just like as we've gone, especially with the young men, we've gone into these canyons.
Oh yeah.
Doing canyons and seeing like the Lord's creation, and that's where I feel the closest to the Spirit and God is actually in nature. And you see where these people lived and how they lived, and you see the petroglyphs that they made that while they were there, and you're like, okay, that makes more sense to me. I understand why there's 3 personages that they designed and drew on that wall, and
That's amazing.
how it means, what it means, and you're like, okay, I can see that this place is so sacred, and it's just so beautiful that, maybe this was their temple, maybe this was their church, this is,
Really?
they met, like, people that came from heaven and talked to them about how to live and whatnot, so you just kind of become more perceptive to that as you kind of look to your own spiritual insides, especially as you read the Book of Mormon. You just kind of become more aware of those things, and
That is
better feelings.
like just so exciting. Like, you've really been able to kind of like look through the world, like through the lens of the Book of Mormon, and just see things in that way, and like really just have cause to wonder. Like when big life events happen like that, like we should be doing those same things, like looking through the things that are happening, like through the lens of what the Book of Mormon teaches us and through the lens of Christ. I remember back in in 2008, my mom was a property manager, and she just talked about how like the day before the markets crashed, like she had all of these like properties like ready to sell. I mean, like financing was set up, like docs were ready to go. And she said she went in to work the next morning, and like banks were calling, and they're like, nope. And so she lost her job like literally that day. And she also not only lost like her job, but on that same day, the stress caused her to lose the ability to walk. And so essentially for like the rest of her life, like she was wheelchair bound. And one of the things that I was so just amazed at is how she always had this ability, this propensity to look at these things that are happening to her through the eyes of Christ.
Yeah.
Has there, been a moment where you've almost, sometimes I feel like we have to like force those glasses onto us, but has there been a moment where even forcing yourself to put those, like goggles on has blessed you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's where like, the great thing about having a spouse is she'll put those goggles on for me all the time. So
Good spouses,
Yep.
yes. Note taken.
yeah,
Find good
so
wife.
it's like,
Dude, we gotta find good wives, man. This is
So,
ridiculous.
yeah, so she actually, she'll like set me down on my chair and say, okay, it's time to put these goggles on, and remind me of my priesthood responsibilities and of doing those types of things. But yeah, there's like, I don't have a specific instance where that's taken place, but it's, it just takes place throughout your life as you kind of, because it's easy to get so distracted in this world. I tell my children all this all the time. It's like there's so many distractions out there. There's social media, you have concerts, you have clothes, you have all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's cool and it's exciting and it's awesome, but really what's most important is like your values and your relationships with people and how you interact with people, and that to me is the most important things in life. So like looking through, like as I look back on life, it's like this situation with prostate cancer. It's like, okay, what am I supposed to learn here? And one of the things I've learned is like, I'm not taking care of my body. I'm like, you know me, I'm like the worst with Diet Mountain Dew. Like Diet Mountain Dew was like it was what I drank. I didn't even drink water. In fact, and I'd usually start it with a Monster. Start day with a Monster.
Yeah.
So I'd be drinking a
Yep.
Monster, and then I'd switch to Diet Mountain Dew.
Happens the best of us.
So it's like I am not taking care of my body, and so that's one thing. It's like, okay, so this last week, I like my fridge. I just stocked the fridge with Diet Mountain Dew. Like I bought a whole case of it.
And you emptied it?
No, it's
Oh.
still sitting there.
It's still sitting-
I opened it because I'm like, I actually had my last one. I can't remember what day it was. We were going somewhere. I think it was on Memorial Day or maybe a day before or something like this weekend. Anyways, because one of the things they say, like I talked to one of my good friends that was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, and how he was able to. They basically said, "Dude, you're done. You're out of this life. Go home.
Sure.
Take care of things. Make sure your family's do whatever you need to do with your family, and make sure your affairs are in order. You're gonna check out here pretty soon." And so it was just like, okay.
That's pretty intense.
So he went home and he was like, "Oh, I'm not losing this battle this easy." And so one of the things that I'll, as you look at alternative ways to fight cancer, is actually have a radical change in your diet. And so, so I literally and one of the things he told me is like, "Dude, you only eat things that are whole foods, no, even beef and chicken screwed up because people put antibodies and stuff in it." And I told him, I was like, I drink Diet Mountain Dew. He's like, "Oh, dude, you gotta get rid of that." So I've this whole week I've had massive headache.
Oh yeah.
So finally today, I'm finally getting over it. But it's things like that you're like, okay, not maybe taking care of my spirit, but am I taking care of my body? So it's like you gotta take care of that so that you can have some place for the spirit to survive, and that's one thing that I haven't been taking care of.
Yeah.
So here the Lord teaches me another lesson that's like, okay, you need to start taking care of that if you want to be around for your grandchildren and those other people that you love and care about. So so I've been drinking water.
Well, that's
That's
Drinking
rough. And I've been putting lemon juice in it to help me. And
You're like, but it's not Diet Mountain Dew. It is not the Diet Mountain Dew.
No. And my wife the other day, she drank a Diet Coke in front of me, like Coke Zero. I was like,
Get that out.
just let me kiss you so I can taste it.
Just let me taste it.
So I can have a taste of it. Just
get a
so she gave me a kiss, and I got a little taste of the Coke Zero, and I was like, oh, that tasted so good. I was like, will you drink a Diet Mountain Dew for
got
me?
your little buzz.
And she was like, oh, no. Because she don't like that.
Yeah.
So
Again,
So
find a good
anyways,
wife.
so
Find a
anyway.
good wife who
So
will drink Diet
anybody,
Mountain Dew
if
when
you want to
fix
come
it.
over to my house, I got 24 Diet Mountain Dew cans sitting in the fridge
Gotta come jump in the pool
that
and
will
drink those.
not to be drank by me. So.
Well, the Lord cares about our health as much
Yeah.
as our spiritual and physical health. Those are both important. I want to rewind a little bit. You mentioned young men's, and I am glad you brought it up because I was one of those youth that was a part of all the things we did, and we did a lot of stupid stuff. We, having you, my dad, and Russ as our leaders was amazing, but they were all so chill that we did all sorts of stupid crap. And, among all of these things, you guys always found a time to just sit us down and talk gospel. And I remember one day we were in this slot canyon. We were throwing bouncy balls off the walls, and they just zing, 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 all we were getting pelted by the bouncy balls. And we were having a good time just being boys. And then we got out of this canyon, and we were just looking over. I don't even know where we were, but we were looking over this amazing view, sitting on the side of the mountain. And I just remember you, my dad, and Russ stood up and just led this. It was probably a 10 or 15-minute gospel discussion. But, that was probably the most attention that we had at that time for the gospel. And, I don't know if that was tricky for you guys as leaders to try to rally up these chaotic young boys to talk gospel, but like, I'm so grateful that the three of you took time to do that and prepare for that, because that played such a heavy role in where we are today. Like, you had me, Aiden, Tanner, and, you know, we had buddies that would join us that weren't even in the ward. And then, you know, you have Dre and Scott from the younger generation. Yeah. And, like, now most of us are either on a mission or have returned from our missions, are doing our best to work hard, go to school, doing all these amazing things. And, you know, it's obviously attributed to a lot of things, but among those things was you as our leader. And you were going through probably all of these hard life challenges at the same time, and yet you were just being selfless and focusing on the youth. And, you know, I think it comes back to those prayers you were talking about, praying every single day to find someone to serve.
Yeah, it was probably one of the fun. I was in Young Men's for, I think it was almost 10 years.
It was a long time.
10 years. So we went to Spencer Nilsson's wedding last night. He was one of the older young men, so.
I didn't even know he was married.
Yeah, he just got married yesterday. So it's kind of been fun to watch, like, all these young men that we've had over the years. But my favorite thing when we do those canyon things is I called it the rock talk.
That's what it was. Yeah, the rock talk.
So rock talk. Tell us about the rock talk.
So I'd always do it. We'd always put it like kind of in the middle of the canyon. So we'd usually do it. We'd get past the first rappel, and usually the first rappel for some people was like
scary. Yeah,
for some people it was like, holy crap! I thought I was gonna die. You know, there was I had young men that thought they were gonna die. You know, and so it was a good time to just like, okay, get through that first rappel, sit down. We had their full attention, and we'd have a rock talk, and we'd talk a little bit. I always loved to talk about perspective when we were out in out in the wild, so to speak. So, but we'd sit them down, and I'd say, yeah, look what you can see around you. And usually, when you're in a canyon, there's not much you can really see. You know, you're pretty confined. There's not a lot of spaces. And then usually we'd climb to the top of a pinnacle of something, and then we'd talk about that and say, so what was the difference? What changed? What changed from being down in a canyon to where you're at on the top of a mountain? And we'd talk about how you elevated yourself. And we'd talk about how, like, you had a different perspective. You could see a lot more. You could see a lot further. You could see where you were. You could see where you were going. You could see the end of the canyon. You could see different parts of the horizon, and they all had their beauty about them. But the one thing that changing your elevation in life would do is it would change your perspective, and it would help you recognize, oh, I can change my view. I have power. I have the power to change my view. And so then we'd talk about prayer. So how does praying, how does reading the scriptures, what does that do for you in your spiritual life? Not just physically. And it's like, okay, it elevates you, and it gives you a different perspective. It gives you a higher perspective. It gives you God's perspective and what he has in mind for you. And so we'd talk about that, and we'd talk about how, you know, the rappel, like having a holding under rope, how you'd have that trust, and you always have, you know, God's, you know, faith in Christ, and he's always there, and he's gonna protect you and save you, and not save you, but basically be there, be your lion in your life, and be that one thing that helps you get down through those difficult moments and face those difficult challenges. We did trust falls. Remember the trust falls?
Trust falls.
We're gonna do those.
So we do trust falls and have other people help you realize that it's not just that this life is not just about you. It's about a team. It's about who you surround yourself with, and good friends make a huge difference in your life. And we would talk to our girls about that all the time, and you guys too, like the young men. It's like who you surround yourself with is who you become, and it's important to surround yourself with people that elevate themselves and look beyond and see what you can become, and help you not only just are doing it on their own, but help you along the path and say, hey, dude, you're not doing what you need to be doing. come with me or help me out. Let me walk with me for a minute. So, but we also had some great experiences. We had one kid cut his finger off.
Oh,
I've heard that
was
story.
crazy.
That's a crazy story.
So,
with the
yeah.
rock that was falling down the
fell
hill.
down. We
Lost
had
a
one kid
finger.
lose his dad almost. We thought we were going to lose his dad on that trip.
that was scary.
It was crazy.
I mean, so that family was struggling that trip.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
We,
So,
yeah.
And then I almost drowned on a floating trip.
Oh,
and
my-
another
yeah.
kid almost drowned on a floating trip.
People
So
losing fingers, almost drowning. We caught some raccoons one time.
Yeah.
We threw a stink bomb in a pizza shop one time.
I've heard that story.
yeah, that was kind of crazy. That was one of those moments when the rock talk wasn't so pleasant either.
Yeah, yeah.
That was
no, no.
like, okay, we're gonna.
Yeah,
like,
let's have a boulder talk right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of actually how it started. I don't know if you knew that.
That was when the hammer got laid. That was
So the pizza shop was the beginnings of the
that was
rock
when we were
talk.
really paying attention and focused up. Just, I just want to get home now. Let's get over with this thing. It was
Yeah, it
sweet.
was a little. That was fun, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's like the fun part about those things and those experiences is like, and I think one of the things the Lord blessed me with is those stupid things I did in my life, because I did all those stupid things as a kid. I mean, we did some crazy stuff too, and I was like, but you know what? It's life changing. It's actually like you look back on your life and you're like, yeah, I did some crazy and I did some stupid things and I did some things that I probably shouldn't have, definitely shouldn't have. But it was like, it gave me the ability to have patience in situations where I was working with the youth, because I was like, you know what? These people they're kids.
Yeah.
They're dumb. They haven't figured it out, and I get it. So it's like, let them do it. Let them get it out of their system.
Let them get out of the system.
Yeah.
I love like just the pizza shop story. Like that sounds so
It's
cool.
a funny one.
So this is, I think, like my favorite part of like what we're trying to do. We've obviously spent a lot of time like talking about your business life, and we've really like come to a really great discussion about your spiritual life. And so like let's have a little rock talk, right? Like what is just a 30-second like bit of gold nugget that you would have for someone like us who were trying to chase both discipleship and dollars?
I don't know what good for that would be, but I would just say I think the biggest thing in life is just focus on your relationships. Doesn't matter who it is in life either, and look for those relationships to bless other people's lives. I mean, pray for that every day. Pray to help somebody. Pray to, there's people that are going through things that are a lot harder than you, and once you realize that, you realize your problems are pretty insignificant. And as bad as they may seem as you're going through them, there's a reason they're there, and they're only there to make you better, And one of the biggest things I've learned in life is that bitter does not make you better. It really doesn't. If you get bitter in life and you get angry at life and you get like life's awful and Lord's not fair, nothing's fair, you know what? It's totally counterproductive, totally counterintuitive to what the Lord's really trying to teach you. And that's to, suck it up and realize that, hey, there's something to be learned in all the bad, and there's something to be learned in the good. That's why we have the plan of salvation. That's why we have these experiences, and that's why we have a Satan in this world, is to help us realize that if we don't feel the bad, we won't understand the good, and we won't really be able to feel it and have that experiences with the Lord. And so I think the biggest thing in life is just focus on those things. Focus on the people that are most important with you and are most important to you, and foster those relationships, and realize that as you do that, not just with your family and your whatnot, but with your business relationships. Like even in business, it's like that's what I focus on. It's like, to me, if I have a bad relationship with a person at the end of the job, it's not worth any dollar I made. It's really not worth it to me. It's honestly not worth it. And I've had those situations, and I've gone through those, and it's like, it's just, I don't feel good in the long run. And honestly, but in life, there's obviously, you're dealing with, in a relationship, you're dealing with two people, and some people just don't want to act the way you want them to act, or you don't understand your philosophy on that either. But it's about just knowing that as you build a good, solid, quality, honest relationship with a client or whoever it may be that you're working with, that the dollars will come.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord's going to provide. The Lord's going to provide for those people. I mean, look at the Doctrine and Covenants. Look at these missionaries that went out with nothing.
Seriously.
Literally nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And we as missionaries, when we
Mm-hmm.
went out, we had everything. These guys that went out with
Nothing.
Nothing.
They were just going out with
Yeah. And the
clothes
Lord
on their back.
provides. The Lord will provide the dollar. So, I mean, you just look at our church and see how the amazing growth, not just in population, but in wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a wealthy church, but that wealth is utilized to do good things.
Yeah.
It's put in place to benefit the lives of those people that obviously help build it and are part of it, but also those people, the whole world essentially is
Mm-hmm.
what it's trying to bless. So money will come. Just be honest and true to the relationships that the people you work with. So
See, that's not just a rock talk. I think that's a gold talk. The money will come. Just focus on the relationships and just the things that really matter.
Yeah, I think that's a good bit of advice for, even both of us. Just in the last little bit, we've been learning about the people we spend our time with and have, chosen to spend more time with some and allowed some to exit our lives just because they don't help elevate us. They're going to, probably take us more down to the bottom of the canyon. And I think that's a really wise piece of advice, so thank you.
Mhm.
I think the best way to sum this up, I have a construction analogy that relates to the gospel. In construction, when you're building a house, you start with the foundation. It has to be obviously the concrete foundation you pour. Otherwise, the house is probably going to tumble down. And there's that primary song, the wise man builds his house upon a rock, and the foolish man builds his house upon the sand. So, Ty, you've talked about relationships, and among all of them, the most important is with our Savior, Jesus Christ. And sometimes I think the Savior will allow us to get to rock bottom. He'll allow us to go through a lot of hard things so that when we hit rock bottom, we can see that He is the rock that's at the bottom that we need to build on. So for all of you out there watching this, including the three of us, let's make sure to build our foundations upon the rock, which is Jesus Christ, and then all things will follow. So, Ty, thank you for joining us today. This was really fun, and I know that I learned a lot. I was surprised at how much I didn't know about you and your life, all this new information I'm learning. But thank you again for joining us.
Yes, that was a wonderful rock talk. Thanks, Ty.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll see everybody soon.
See ya.